Max lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with thoughts of existence. His insomnia is no mere inconvenience, it's a battle against the shadows of his own consciousness. What is the meaning of life? Why do we suffer? These questions swirl like a tempest within him, each one more daunting than the last. Understanding nightmares through philosophy can provide a deeper insight into our psyche. Existentialism posits that life lacks inherent meaning, emphasizing personal responsibility in crafting one's own essence. This can lead to a sense of despair, especially when facing dark thoughts that manifest in dreams. Absurdism, introduced by thinkers like Albert Camus, suggests that while humanity's search for meaning is futile, one can still find solace in the struggle itself. These philosophies resonate deeply with those like Max, who find themselves haunted by their waking thoughts. Nightmares often symbolize our fears and unresolved issues. They serve as a canvas where our subconscious paints the anxieties we refuse to face in daylight. For Max, every night is an opportunity for these shadows to emerge, transforming into vivid nightmares that challenge his very existence. Sleep becomes a battlefield where he confronts the essence of his fears. On this particular night, Max closes his eyes, hoping for rest. Instead, he plunges into an unsettling dream where he stands at the edge of an abyss. Dark, swirling clouds surround him, and he hears whispers that echo his deepest thoughts. "What if there is no purpose?" they taunt. The edge is treacherous, and he feels an inexplicable pull toward the void below. As he peers into the dark, he is confronted by figures sculpted from his mind's turmoil, memories of failures, lost opportunities, and the weight of expectations. They reach out to him, faces twisted in despair. In this dream, Max understands that these nightmares are not merely fabrications of fear, they are reflections of his internal struggle, a confrontation with the very philosophy he contemplates when awake. Each figure is a reminder of the existential dread he faces daily. The voices grow louder, challenging him to accept the absurdity of his situation. "Embrace the struggle," one whispers. "There is beauty in chaos." In the depths of this philosophical nightmare, Max realizes that to find peace, he must acknowledge these thoughts rather than flee from them. As he battles the figures, he feels a shift within him. The darkness begins to recede, replaced by a glimmer of understanding. Perhaps the nightmares are not meant to torment him, but to guide him toward acceptance. The abyss no longer seems so daunting. Instead, it reflects the vast possibilities of existence. Awakening in a cold sweat, Max sits up, breathless, yet enlightened. The night feels different now. The philosophical questions that once suffocated him now seem like challenges waiting to be explored. With dawn approaching, he knows that these nighttime battles will continue, but he feels a renewed resolve. Each nightmare could potentially lead him closer to understanding himself and the world around him. This unsettling journey through the philosophical landscape of his mind may be the key to unlocking the answers he seeks. Max sits on the edge of his bed, the sun's rays almost piercing through the heavy curtains, yet they fail to penetrate the thick fog of his mind. The remnants of last night's restless dreams linger like shadows, haunting him with questions of existence and purpose. What is the essence of reality, he wonders, as he stares at the dust motes dancing in the light. These thoughts swirl around him, a maelstrom of anxiety and curiosity, propelling him into an introspective voyage. He recalls snippets of a dream where he found himself in a vast library, every book a different life, a different choice. He walked the aisles, tracing his fingers along the spines, wondering about the lives he didn't live, the decisions he didn't make. Strangely, he felt an urge to open one of the tomes, but the moment he did, the words turned to smoke, evaporating into the air, leaving him with nothing but a sense of loss. Did the choices he made limit him, or was it the fear of the unknown that shackled him? With a deep breath, Max rises and walks to the window, pushing aside the curtains to let the sun flood the room. The warmth brings a temporary comfort, a stark contrast to the chill of his existential dread. He watches the world outside awaken, people rushing, the mundane rhythm of life starkly juxtaposed against his inner turmoil. Each person is a story, a collection of thoughts and fears just like him, yet they seem to navigate their lives with a clarity that eludes him. As the light grows stronger, so does his resolve to tackle the spiraling thoughts. He decides to take a walk, to confront his philosophical nightmares in the daylight, to seek clarity amongst the confusion. Perhaps nature holds answers. He steps outside, the fresh air hitting his face, grounding him momentarily. Walking through the park, he observes the trees swaying gently, their leaves whispering secrets of the universe. A child plays nearby, laughter echoing in the air, a stark reminder of innocence and the simplicity of existence. Max is envious of that child's purity, the way they engage with the world without the burden of philosophical quandaries weighing them down. He sits on a bench, letting the sounds of nature wash over him, but the questions remain. What is the point of it all? He thinks of nihilism and the existentialists, the notion that life is inherently meaningless. Is that true? Does he create his own meaning, or is he simply a puppet in a grand cosmic joke? A couple of joggers pass by, their rhythmic breaths and pounding feet a reminder of the vitality of life. As they move, Max feels a pang of envy mixed with irritation. Why can't he find that kind of drive? His mind races with thoughts of purpose, questioning the social norms that dictate success and fulfillment. As other park-goers pass, he notices an elderly man sitting on a nearby bench, staring into the distance with a contemplative look. There's wisdom etched into the lines of his face, and he feels an inexplicable urge to approach him. Maybe this man possesses the answers he seeks. As he gets closer, he musters the courage to ask, "Excuse me, sir, can I ask you something?" The old man turns to him, a slow, deliberate motion, and nods. "Of course, young man. What troubles your mind?" Max hesitates for a moment, grappling with the weight of his thoughts. "I'm just trying to understand, what's the meaning of all this? Life, I mean. Why do we work so hard, chase after dreams, only to end up where we started?" The old man studies him for a moment, then chuckles softly. The age-old question. You're not alone in your inquiries. Everyone wrestles with these thoughts at some point. Life is a journey, not a destination. It's about the experiences we gather along the way, not merely the end goal. We create meaning through our actions, our relationships, the beauty we find in moments, but it's easy to lose sight of that amidst the noise. Max nods, feeling both comforted and disheartened by the old man's words. They resonate with the truth he desperately wants to believe, but struggles to accept. "But what if those experiences are just fleeting?" he replies. "What if everything we do is ultimately insignificant in the grand scheme of things?" The old man smiles knowingly, his eyes twinkling. It's the perception of the insignificance that makes life precious. Each moment, each choice has weight and meaning to us in the moment. Each song you create, each book you read, all adds to the tapestry of your existence. Yes, it may seem futile in the end, but it only matters if you allow it to. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from and what hour it is. If you like what you're watching, please subscribe, as it helps us in determining what type of content we should post. Let's continue further. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? The transience of life makes it precious. Each moment counts, regardless of its lasting impact. It's the connections we forge, the love we give and receive, that create ripples in the fabric of existence. So, embrace the fleeting nature of it all, my friend. Find joy in the little things. When you look back, those little moments often become the most significant. Max feels a weight lift off his shoulders, but the questions still linger. He thanks the man and walks away, his mind racing with the conversation. Maybe there's something to be learned from embracing the chaos. from surrendering to the flow of life rather than constantly fighting against it. Later, as the day begins to fade and the sun sets, Max returns home, his heart lighter but still questioning. He sits back on his bed, ready to reflect on the wisdom of the stranger, but unable to shake off the unease. There's a deeper layer still, something lurking in the shadows of his thoughts, waiting to be unveiled. The remnants of his nightmares creep back in, wrapping around him like a shroud. What if the answers he seeks only lead him deeper into despair? What if the more he understands, the more lost he becomes? As he closes his eyes, the darkness begins to envelop him once more. He's not certain whether he will find clarity or confusion in this next descent into his mind, but he knows that he must confront whatever awaits him. With a deep breath, he surrenders to the abyss, ready to confront the swirling chaos of his philosophical nightmares, hoping for a flicker of light amidst the darkness. Max finds himself in a dimly lit room, the air thick with the weight of dread. He can hardly make out the details of his surroundings, but a solitary flickering bulb casts unsettling shadows that dance along the walls. Each shadow seems to reach towards him, whispering secrets that tickle the edges of his consciousness. Faint echoes of laughter ripple through the silence, a taunting reminder of his past failures and insecurities. Suddenly, he's struck by a memory, one that has haunted him for years. He recalls a day in high school during which he stood alone at the edge of the cafeteria, watching as his classmates effortlessly mingled. The laughter he hears morphs into the voices of his peers, mocking yet familiar. "Why can't you just be normal, Max?" a voice sneers, echoing the words that once pierced his heart. His anxiety spikes, and he feels the familiar knot in his stomach tighten. He desperately searches for an exit, but the room seems to stretch infinitely, and the shadows close in on him. In the corner of his eye, he sees a figure appearing from the darkness. It is a distorted version of himself, an exaggerated caricature of his fears. This doppelganger wears a grin that is both unsettling and sorrowful, as if it understands him completely. "You've always been afraid of what they think," it taunts, its voice a chilling whisper that reverberates in Max's mind. Max stands frozen, grasping with the reality presented before him. The figure takes a step closer, and with each movement it sheds layers of his insecurities. The fear of judgment, the anxiety of being alone, the suffocating expectation to conform. Each layer falls to the ground like dead leaves, leaving behind a raw, vulnerable version of himself. "Why do you hide from me?" the doppelganger questions, its tone shifting to a more sympathetic register. "I am a part of you, Max. You cannot ignore me. You must confront what you fear to find peace." The words resonate deeply within him. Max thinks of the late nights spent pondering his existence, the moments he felt paralyzed by the weight of life's meaninglessness. The shadows around him pulsate, morphing into the faces of the people from his past, each representing a part of his journey, his successes and failures. "What if the truth is that you are meant to struggle?" the figure continues, its voice now a soothing balm against Max's rising panic. "Embrace the struggle, and you will find clarity." With that, the shadows shift, revealing a door that hadn't been there before. Max hesitates, but the urgency to escape the room and face his fears propels him forward. He pushes the door open, and blinding light floods the space. He steps through, feeling his heart race, as he finds himself in a different landscape, one where time seems to stretch and warp. This is a realm of existential inquiry, where time and meaning intertwine in chaotic patterns. Each clock seems to represent a different choice he could have made, moments that could have altered his life's trajectory. Max approaches one that ticks louder than the rest, its hands spinning wildly. What if you could relive those moments? Another voice echoes, this one soft yet urgent, pulling at the threads of his curiosity. He studies the clock, feeling an inexplicable pull towards it. If he could go back, would he choose differently? Would he dare to confront his demons? As if reading his thoughts, the clock's face shifts, displaying images of pivotal moments. The day he chose not to speak up in class, the time he let an opportunity slip by, and the relationships that faded due to his indecision. Each moment weighs heavily on him, a reflection of his internal struggles. In a sudden rush of determination, Max reaches out to touch the clock. At the moment his fingers graze its surface, time fractures around him, and he is plunged into a whirlwind of memories, each one a potential reality. He watches himself in various scenarios, one where he boldly raises his hand in class, another where he pursues his passions without fear. Yet amidst these alternate lives, he notices the shadowy figures of regret lurking just beyond the edges of each scene. They remind him that every choice births its own set of fears and consequences. Max's heart races as he navigates through this tapestry of possibilities, battling the anxiety that threatens to consume him. He realizes that while he may regret certain choices, every experience has shaped him. Each moment, no matter how painful, adds richness to his existence. What is the meaning of life without struggle, he thinks. The realization brings a flicker of hope. Perhaps embracing the complexity of his journey is part of the answer. With renewed resolve, he focuses on the path before him, understanding that every choice is an opportunity for growth. He can navigate through his fears instead of avoiding them. The clocks around him begin to slow, their erratic ticking harmonizing into a steady beat. As he begins to understand that life is a collection of moments filled with both light and darkness, he feels a shift within himself. The doppelganger fades into the background, its distorted grin transforming into a look of acceptance, a nod towards Max's newfound clarity. And just as he begins to feel a sense of peace wash over him, a new sound emerges, a low, resonant hum that echoes through the expanse. Intrigued, Max turns, sensing that this sound is calling him deeper into the landscape. What lies ahead? Is it another challenge or a revelation waiting to be uncovered? With a mix of trepidation and curiosity, Max takes a step forward, ready to embrace whatever awaits him in this next chapter of his philosophical nightmare. As the hum grows louder, he knows he must follow it to uncover the truth behind this waking dream. What does it mean to truly confront oneself? As he moves towards the source of the sound, feeling the urgency of discovering the answer that lies before him. As the hum envelops him, Max feels an odd compulsion, a tension that pulls him toward its source. The air thickens, charged with an energy that both disturbs and fascinates him. He takes a tentative step forward, heart racing, mind racing faster. Each pulse of the sound sends vibrations through his body, resonating with his deepest fears, those shadows of doubt that lurk at the edges of his consciousness. The world around him shifts subtly. The ground beneath his feet seems to pulse in rhythm with the hum, an ethereal landscape materializing from the void. What once was darkness transforms into a swirling sea of colors, blues, greens, and purples merging and swirling like a cosmic storm. Max is caught between awe and trepidation, questioning the nature of this place. Is it a dream or some twisted reality? As he moves forward, ghostly figures emerge from the colors, their forms flickering like candlelight, brief glimpses of anguish and longing. Max recognizes them all too well. They are manifestations of his own inner turmoil, reflections of sleepless nights spent wrestling with existential thoughts. They whisper secrets in a language he cannot discern, their voices blending into the hum, creating a symphony of despair. "Why do you listen to the noise?" one figure asks, its face obscured by a veil of shadows. "It only leads to deeper questions, where answers lie just out of reach." Max feels a chill run down his spine. He has spent endless nights grappling with the very essence of existence, contemplating the nature of being and the futility of seeking absolute truths. What if the hum is a lure, a trap designed to ensnare him in his own thoughts? As he wanders deeper into this surreal tapestry, he notices a large glowing orb suspended above him, pulsating with each beat of the hum. It radiates a warmth that feels both inviting and threatening. The figures seem drawn to it, their faces contorting in expressions of both hope and despair. Max reaches out toward the orb, feeling an inexplicable connection. At that moment, the hum crescendos, engulfing him completely. He finds himself enveloped by a wave of memories. Faces of loved ones flash before him, moments of laughter intertwined with sorrow. The hum morphs into echoes of laughter, conversations and arguments, swirling around him like a tempest. Every voice builds upon the other until they form a cacophony that overwhelms his senses. "You cannot escape us, Max," one voice shouts. It's his own, but twisted, filled with self-recrimination. The orb's glow intensifies, illuminating the darkness that has coiled around his heart for too long. "Face us," another voice pleads, its eyes filled with an intensity that pierces through his despair. "Only then can you find peace." Max feels the weight of their collective sorrow, a burden he has been unwilling to confront. They represent the unresolved questions that have plagued him, the fear of failure, the dread of solitude, the uncertainty of destiny. As he listens, he realizes the hum has transformed into a question itself, echoing around him, asking him to delve into the depths of his psyche. With a determined breath, he steadies himself against the chaos, focusing on the pulsating orb above. What if the journey is the answer, he muses, contemplating the notion that perhaps the quest for understanding is what defines him. In that instant, clarity strikes him. He must embrace the discomfort of uncertainty instead of fleeing from it. The figures around him seem to nod in agreement, their forms beginning to dissolve into the vibrant colors that surround them. As they vanish, their whispers shift from despair to encouragement, urging him to seek the truth in the questions rather than the answers he desperately craves. But the orb's light grows blinding, and Max shields his eyes, feeling a magnetic pull. The hum crescendos once more, vibrating through his core, and he's torn between the comfort of retreating into familiar thoughts and the thrill of diving deeper into the unknown. Just as he gathers the courage to leap toward the orb, the sound shatters into silence, plunging him back into darkness. Panting, he finds himself standing in an empty void. There is no color, no sound, only the echo of his thoughts left behind. The silence is deafening, an unsettling reminder of the work he has yet to confront. In that moment, he understands that the hum, the orb, and the figures were all part of a greater lesson, one about the necessity of facing his fears rather than succumbing to them. Each night will bring new nightmares, but perhaps they are not mere horrors. They are teachers, each asking for acknowledgement and understanding. With renewed resolve, Max takes a deep breath, the darkness no longer feeling like a prison, but rather a canvas for his exploration. He knows that the journey is far from over, and understanding will come in waves, each with its own unique shape and sound. The night may be unsettling, but it is also filled with potential. As the echoes of the hum linger in his mind, Max prepares to step forward into whatever lies ahead, armed with the knowledge that he has the strength to face his innermost fears.
Each question will bring him closer to the answers he seeks, and perhaps in the process, he will find himself. With one final glance into the void, he whispers to the darkness, "Let's discover what comes next."
They seem to whisper secrets, taunting him with knowledge he craves yet fears to grasp. They ask him questions he cannot answer, each one spiraling deeper into the abyss of his psyche. What if you are not who you think you are? In that moment, a surge of clarity hits him. He realizes that the sound is not just an external force, it is an embodiment of his own inner turmoil. The cacophony represents the unresolved questions that plague him, the nightmares that paralyze his thoughts at night when he desperately seeks sleep. It is as if his subconscious is trying to communicate with him, to reveal the hidden truths he has buried beneath layers of anxiety. As he wrestles with this realization, the mirror begins to shimmer, and he feels an irresistible pull. He reaches out, fingertips grazing the cold surface, and the reflections ripple like water disturbed by a stone. Suddenly, an intense burst of light emanates from the mirror, enveloping him in a warm glow. And in that blinding light, he sees flashes of his life, moments of joy intertwined with despair, all punctuated by the questions that haunt him. When the brightness fades, Max finds himself transported to another realm, a surreal landscape where the laws of time and space no longer apply. The ground beneath his feet is soft and pliable, a mixture of clouds and earth, shifting and changing with each step he takes. The sky above is a tumult of colors that defy description, swirling with hues of violet and gold, casting an ethereal glow on everything around him. He feels lost, yet strangely liberated, encouraged by the change to explore this uncharted territory of his mind. As he wanders through the landscape, giant trees sprout from the ground, their branches heavy with question marks instead of leaves. They sway gently in a breeze that carries the sound of laughter mingled with cries of despair, creating an unsettling symphony. Max approaches one of the trees, the bark etched with symbols he cannot decipher. As he touches it, a surge of memories floods back, moments of regret, choices unmade, and dreams lost. The tree seems to resonate with his emotions, pulsating in rhythm with his heartbeat. He wonders if this is a manifestation of his psyche, reflecting his innermost doubts and hopes. A figure emerges from the shadows of the trees, cloaked in swirling mist. It raises its hand, pointing toward a path leading deeper into the landscape. "Follow the sound, Max," the figure intones, its voice echoing with 1,000 whispers. "It will lead you to the truth you seek. But be warned, the truth is not always what you hope it will be." Max hesitates, fear gripping him. He knows that the path ahead may force him to confront his deepest fears, the very nightmares that have plagued him for so long. Yet an undeniable sense of curiosity pushes him forward. The sound resonates again, clearer this time, like a beacon calling him to uncover the layers of himself that he has long ignored. As he steps onto the path, the ground beneath him shifts, and he feels the weight of his choices, the burden of his thoughts pressing down upon him. But with each step, he draws closer to understanding, to the unraveling of the threads that bind his psyche in knots. The air thickens with anticipation, and as he moves deeper into the surreal landscape, the shadows of his nightmares loom larger, whispering their secrets in the night. He realizes that the journey to uncover the truth may be fraught with challenges, yet he feels a flicker of hope ignite within him, illuminating the shadows for the first time.
And as he turns a corner, drawn by the sound that has become a part of him, he takes a deep breath, preparing to face whatever lies ahead. What will he uncover as he follows the honking sound that promises to reveal the truths buried deep within his soul? As Max steps forward, the world around him shifts. Shadows twist and contort, pulling him into a landscape where reality bends. He finds himself in a dimly lit corridor, the walls pulsating with an unsettling rhythm that mirrors his anxious heartbeat. Each step feels heavy, as if the ground itself resists his movement, echoing his inner turmoil. In this liminal space, Max encounters doors lined up along the corridor, each one a gateway into a different nightmare. The air thickens with a sense of dread, yet an inexplicable curiosity propels him forward. He reaches out to a door marked with a symbol resembling an open eye, a representation of awareness, perhaps. As he pushes the door open, a chilling wind sweeps through, swirling memories and half-formed thoughts. Suddenly, he stands in an expansive field under a bruised sky where the sun and moon exist simultaneously, casting an ethereal glow on everything around him. It feels vast and empty, yet he is aware that his own fears have taken form here, lurking just beyond the horizon. "What is the nature of reality?" a voice whispers, echoing in the emptiness, forcing him to confront the philosophical questions that keep him awake at night. He knows that to navigate this place, he must engage with the very thoughts that have haunted him. Max takes a deep breath, summoning the courage to respond. Reality is what we make of it, but what if our perceptions deceive us? The moment he utters the words, shadows emerge from the ground, shifting and morphing into indiscernible figures that seem to reflect his inner doubts and unmet expectations, missed opportunities, and the relentless ticking of time. The shadows swirl around him, whispering fragmented memories, moments of hesitation and regret. Yet amidst this cacophony, he finds a glimmer of clarity. The true essence of his fears lies not in the decisions he made, but in the fear of making them at all. The realization sends a surge of adrenaline through him, igniting a flicker of hope in this desolate landscape. "I can learn from each choice rather than be bound by them," he asserts, his voice growing stronger. The shadows recoil, momentarily losing their grip on him, allowing a sliver of light to break through the darkness. Encouraged, he continues, "What if I embrace uncertainty? What if I accept that life itself is a series of choices, each leading to new possibilities?" With every word, the oppressive atmosphere begins to shift, the shadows retreat, and the field transforms into a kaleidoscope of colors, vibrant and alive. He feels a wave of relief wash over him as he embraces this newfound perspective. But just as he begins to savor his victory, the horizon darkens and a thunderous growl reverberates through the air. Before him, a monstrous figure emerges from the darkness, a manifestation of his deepest fears. It is colossal and menacing, its features a grotesque amalgamation of all the insecurities he has ever faced. "You cannot escape me, Max. I am the sum of your hesitations and failures," it roars, shaking the ground beneath his feet. He feels the weight of the creature's presence, but instead of succumbing to despair, he remembers the light that had pierced the shadows moments before. "You are a part of me, but you do not define me," he shouts back, channeling his resolve. The creature pauses, momentarily taken aback by his defiance. In this standoff, Max understands that the only way to conquer his fears is to embody the questions that haunt him.
Why do I fear failure? What does it mean to truly live? he demands, his voice resonating with newfound confidence. The creature shrinks back as if the weight of his inquiries has stripped it of its power. Emboldened, Max takes a step closer. "I will embrace uncertainty. I will seek the truth in every experience, regardless of the outcome," he declares, feeling the fear dissipate like fog in the sunlight. The monstrous figure shudders, its form flickering between reality and illusion. With each assertion, Max chips away at its essence, revealing the vulnerability nestled within. As the creature crumbles into shadows, Max realizes that this confrontation was never about annihilation, but about acceptance. The nightmares do not vanish. Instead, they transform, becoming a part of him that he can acknowledge and learn from, rather than flee from. The field around him shifts once more, the vibrant colors settling into a tranquil dawn. His heart rate steadies, and the philosophical questions that once kept him awake now float gently in his mind, like clouds drifting across the sky. They are not burdens to be feared, but companions in his journey of understanding. As the sun rises, he feels a sense of peace enveloping him, wrapping around him like a warm blanket. Max knows that the path ahead will still be fraught with challenges, but he is no longer afraid to step forward. The corridor of doors awaits, each leading to new realms of thought and experience, but now he knows he has the tools to navigate them. With a renewed sense of purpose, Max turns back to the corridor, determined to explore the next door, ready to embrace the next set of philosophical inquiries that await him. The shadows whisper softly, no longer menacing, but rather encouraging him to delve deeper into the labyrinth of his mind. As he approaches the next door, a familiar symbol catches his eye, a circle, unbroken. He hesitates for a moment, contemplating what lies beyond. The whispers grow louder, echoing the tranquility of dawn, urging him to proceed. With a push, he opens the door to a new realm, stepping into the uncharted territory of his psyche, where more profound questions linger. Max stands at the edge of a vast landscape, a surreal expanse where time stretches thin and reality blurs. Here, the ground undulates like a breathing entity, shifting beneath his feet as he navigates the terrain. The sky above is a swirling canvas of dark hues, punctuated by eerie flashes of light that resemble thoughts flickering through his mind. Each gust of wind carries a voice, a cacophony of doubts and reflections that twist the air around him. As he moves forward, Max is acutely aware of the weight of his own anxiety. He recalls the shadows from before, their haunting murmurs echoing in his ears, urging him to uncover the truths buried within his psyche. "What are you truly searching for?" they had asked, their forms shifting with the uncertainty of his thoughts. The landscape morphs, and he finds himself standing before a large mirror, its surface rippling as if it reflects not just his physical appearance, but the very essence of his thoughts. He approaches it tentatively, his heart racing. Looking into the mirror, he sees himself, but his reflection distorts, showcasing a multitude of faces, each representing a different facet of his identity, his fears, and his aspirations. "Who are you?" he asks, his voice trembling, echoing back to him like a plea. The myriad faces in the mirror shift and morph, each mouth forming the same question back to him. "Who are you?" The repetition sends shivers down his spine, as if the universe is mocking his uncertainty. Max takes a step back, overwhelmed. He remembers the last night's conversation where he had confided in a friend about his insomnia, the relentless cycle of thoughts that plagued him. The friend's advice had been simple, yet profound. Sometimes you need to confront the darkness to find the light. But here in this dreamlike abyss, the darkness feels omnipresent,
wrapping around him like a shroud. He closes his eyes, focusing on the rhythmic sound of his breathing, trying to ground himself. As he breathes in and out, he visualizes his fears like shadows swirling around him. A thought strikes him. What if he can turn around, face them directly, instead of letting them lurk just out of sight? This resolution brings a surge of unexpected courage. Stepping back toward the mirror, he raises his hands, palms pressed against the cool surface. "I'm not afraid of you anymore," Max declares, his voice steadier than before. The faces in the mirror seem to pause, their expressions shifting from mockery to intrigue. "Then show us your truth," one face intones, its voice a low, rumbling echo. With that, the mirror ripples again, and the landscape changes once more. He finds himself standing at the precipice of a cliff, overlooking an abyss that seems to stretch into infinity. The ground crumbles beneath him as he peers over the edge, and a sense of vertigo grips him. Below, he can see faint silhouettes of figures, shadows of his past, memories he had forgotten, regrets he had buried. Each silhouette represents a moment he chose to ignore, a truth he struggled to confront. "Face us," a voice calls from the void, and he feels an invisible force pulling him closer to the edge. He hesitates, the instinct to retreat clashing with the urge to delve deeper. What if he falls? What if the truth is too heavy to bear? But then he recalls his insomnia, the relentless cycle of thoughts that plagued him. The unanswered questions that linger in the back of his mind push him forward. What is the meaning of it all? Swallowing hard, he steps closer to the edge, his heart pounding in his chest. He closes his eyes again, allowing the noise of doubt to wash over him. With a deep breath, he opens them just in time to see the figures morph into clearer forms, faces he recognizes. His childhood self stares back at him with wide, innocent eyes. Next, a teenage version of himself, full of angst and uncertainty, appears. Finally, the face of his adult self, wearied and burdened by the weight of reality. Each version of him holds a fragment of the truth he's been avoiding. "Why are you afraid of us?" the figures ask in unison, their voices melding into one haunting melody. "We are you." The revelation strikes him like lightning. These are not just shadows, they embody the truths he has denied. With newfound clarity, he realizes it is not the shadows he fears, but the acceptance of his past and the acknowledgement of who he truly is. "I'm afraid of confronting the mistakes I made, of the choices that led me here," he admits, his voice cracking. The figures nod, understanding written across their faces. They stretch their hands towards him, inviting him to cross the void. Tentatively, Max steps forward, feeling the ground solidify beneath him. And as he does, he hears the whispers of the shadows transform into words of encouragement. "Embrace us. We are part of you. Only by accepting us can you find peace." With a deep breath, he takes another step. And suddenly he's enveloped in a warm light. The shadows are no longer menacing. They coalesce into a comforting embrace, a tapestry of his life experiences woven together. In this moment, he understands that the labyrinth of his psyche does not have to be a prison, but a mosaic of growth and learning. As the warmth envelops him, the abyss beneath the cliff fades, replaced by a gentle meadow bathed in golden sunlight. He is no longer standing at the edge of fear, but in a place of acceptance. Here, the truths of his existence begin to manifest as not just burdens, but as lessons learned and wisdom gained.
Max's heart swells with the realization that the journey is not just about confronting his fears, but about embracing every part of himself, his past, present, and future. This new understanding ignites a flicker of hope within him, a promise that perhaps,
just perhaps, he can start anew. Yet, as he stands there, a sudden gust of wind sweeps through the meadow, carrying with it the echoes of his questions. The shadows whisper once more, "But what lies beyond this acceptance? What more do you seek?" Their tone is both curious and insistent, hinting at deeper enigmas still lurking just out of reach. Max, invigorated yet apprehensive, realizes he is on the cusp of another revelation. What truths await him now that he has begun to embrace his essence? With a heart full of both trepidation and excitement, he takes a step forward into the shimmering unknown, ready to unravel the next layers of his existence. Max ventures deeper into the ever-expanding landscape of his mind, where the terrain shifts from familiar mountains of anxiety to valleys filled with shadows of doubt. Each step he takes is heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. As he walks, ethereal whispers echo around him, teasing at the edges of his consciousness. They beckon him to look closer, to confront the very essence of what keeps him awake at night. Suddenly, the ground beneath him shifts again, transforming into a labyrinthine structure composed of crumbling stone walls. This new environment feels oppressive, as if it is designed to disorient him. Max feels a rise in his heartbeat, a reminder of the anxiety that has haunted him for years. Graphite gray fog creeps along the walls, and dim light flickers sporadically, amplifying the unsettling atmosphere. "What if I am lost forever?" he thinks, a shiver racing down his spine. But deep down he knows that stagnation is more frightening than any dark corridor he might traverse. As he navigates the labyrinth, he encounters walls covered with graffiti, words scrawled in frantic strokes. Phrases like "fear is a prison" and "embrace the unknown" leap out at him. Each message resonates with his journey. They are reminders of the conflicting emotions he has tried to suppress. Max reaches out to touch the cold stone, feeling the vibrations of the words as if they pulse with life. They urge him to remember that the only escape lies in understanding. Continuing through the maze, he stumbles upon a small room, its door ajar. Inside, a flickering candle casts uneven shadows, revealing a mirror that stands against the wall. Max approaches cautiously, peering into its reflective surface. What stares back at him is not just his face, but a multitude of expressions: fear, confusion, determination, and acceptance. Each flicker of the candlelight unveils a different side of him, each more nuanced than the last. "Who are you?" he whispers into the mirror, the question echoing back to him. In that moment, he realizes that this reflection is an invitation to confront the aspects of himself he has denied. The struggle between his anxious self and the parts yearning for acceptance is laid bare before him. As he contemplates, the mirror shifts, the surface rippling like water. A figure begins to emerge from within, a shadow first, then solidifying into a version of himself that is composed of every anxiety he has ever felt, every fear that has kept him awake at night. He is Max, but he is also a manifestation of his nightmares, a reflection of everything he wishes to escape. "You can't run from me, Max," the figure says, its voice a haunting melody. "I am as much a part of you as your desire for peace. You've tried to forget me, but without acknowledging me, you cannot move forward." Max feels a rush of emotions, anger, sadness, and fear all mingling together. "I don't want you here," he cries, but deep down he understands that this confrontation is necessary. He needs to face this version of himself, this shadow that has loomed large over his consciousness for far too long. As if sensing his internal struggle, the figure leans closer, its features softening. I am the voice of your fears, yes, but I also hold the key to understanding your deepest desires. You must accept me in order to reclaim your nights. Only then can you find the freedom to dream again." Max hesitates, his mind racing. The idea of acceptance terrifies him, yet the notion of continuing to evade his own fears is even more daunting. He feels the energy in the room shift as he stands there, contemplating whether to embrace this shadow or push it away once more. In a moment of clarity, he takes a step forward, bridging the gap between himself and the figure. "I acknowledge you. I see you. I won't run anymore." His voice trembles, but holds a newfound strength. The shadow smiles, its features transforming into a gentler visage of Max, embodying his acceptance. "And with that, you will find that I am not a monster, but a part of you that needs love and recognition. Together, we can find peace." With this realization, a wave of warmth washes over Max as the labyrinth begins to dissolve, the walls crumbling into dust. He feels lighter, as if a heavy burden has been lifted from his shoulders. The candlelight brightens, illuminating the path ahead, hinting at new beginnings. As he steps away from the remnants of the mirror, he knows that he has begun a long journey toward reconciliation with himself. The night still holds its philosophical nightmares, but now they feel less like threats and more like opportunities for introspection and growth. Max pauses at the threshold of the now-gone labyrinth, taking a deep breath. He understands that while the path ahead may be riddled with challenges, he has taken the first step toward unearthing the truths hidden within. These truths will guide him as he continues his voyage of self-discovery, moving beyond fears that have held him captive for far too long. With an exhilarating mix of apprehension and hope, he steps forward into the unknown, ready to confront whatever lies ahead in the dim light of his philosophical journey. As he walks into the next horizon of his mind, he senses that the whispers have transformed into a chorus of encouragement, inviting him to delve deeper into his own psyche. What new revelations await him in the uncharted territories of his thoughts? Max stands at the edge of an expansive landscape, colors swirling like a surreal painting. Shadows stretch across the ground, twisting and contorting into shapes that resonate with his subconscious. Each step forward reverberates within him, a soft echo of his internal dialogue, as if the terrain itself is alive with the vibrations of his thoughts. The chorus of encouragement grows louder, throbbing with the pulse of his heart, urging him to explore the depths of his fears yet again. As he walks, the scenery shifts from vibrant colors to darker tones, the sky above him morphing into a brooding canvas of deep blues and blacks. He enters a forest of towering trees whose gnarled branches reach out like twisted fingers. Here, the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. Max feels a sense of trepidation as he navigates through the underbrush. Every crackle of twigs beneath his feet echoes in the silence. In this eerie place, he encounters figures draped in shadow, their faces obscured, but their presence palpable. They whisper his name, soft yet insistent, drawing him nearer. Are these fragments of his imagination or manifestations of his anxiety? He recalls the philosophy he has often pondered. Are we composed of our fears, or do our fears compose us? The question hangs heavily in the air, a stone sinking in his stomach. One figure steps forward, and Max recognizes it as the embodiment of his self-doubt, its voice like gravel, each word slicing through his resolve. "You think you can confront me? You think you can escape?" it challenges, its form shifting and swirling like smoke. Max feels a surge of resistance, an urge to fight back. "I don't need to escape you," he retorts, a newfound resilience igniting within him. "You are a part of me, and I have learned to accept you. You guide me toward understanding." The figure recoils slightly, surprise flaring in its shadowed features. It morphs into a more recognizable form, that of a younger Max, eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. This younger self represents all the moments he spent avoiding his emotions, stuffing them away under layers of rationality and denial. "Why don't you want to face the truth?" the younger Max whispers, voice trembling with vulnerability. "You'll never be free if you keep running." Max feels a pang of compassion for this version of himself. He realizes he has been running, not just from his fears, but from the deeper truths that lie within them. "Why am I afraid to see the whole picture?" he wonders, the question reverberating like a bell in the silence of the forest. The shadows begin to gather closer, almost as if waiting for a reaction. But instead of retreating, Max takes a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. He approaches the younger self and kneels down, locking eyes with it. "I'm sorry I ignored you for so long," he says softly, sincerity lacing his words. "I'm ready to listen now. What do you have to say?" The younger Max's expression softens, fear giving way to a tentative hope. "You need to understand that every part of you is important," it says, voice gaining strength. "Your doubts, your anxieties, they shape you, but they do not define you." As those words hang in the air, the scenery around them shifts again. The trees recede, revealing a vast lake, its surface smoothed like glass, reflecting the swirling skies above. The image is serene, yet unsettling, a duality that resonates deeply within Max. He steps closer to the water's edge, peering into the depths, searching for answers hidden beneath the surface. Suddenly, the water ripples, and fragments of his past begin to emerge. Snapshots of moments when he felt lost, isolated by his thoughts. Each memory lures him like a siren's call, beckoning him to dive in and confront the emotions he had long buried. "Will you drown, or will you swim?" the younger Max asks, a hint of fear creeping into its voice. Max hesitates, feeling the weight of the question. He has been averse to diving into his feelings, afraid of what he might uncover. Yet he knows that this journey requires him to face whatever lies beneath. "I choose to swim," he finally answers, determination flooding his veins. He steps into the water, the coolness enveloping him like an embrace. As he sinks deeper, the memories swirl around him, vivid and haunting. Each moment flashes before him like a film reel, and he realizes that these experiences, while painful, have shaped his understanding of self. The shadows of doubt linger, but they no longer intimidate him. With each breath, he invites them in, allowing the feelings to wash over him in waves. He is no longer the frightened child trying to escape. He is a man embracing the complexities of his existence. As he emerges from the water, the lake transforms into a mirror, reflecting his newfound acceptance. The shadows recede, revealing a path leading toward the horizon where the dawn begins to break, bathing everything in soft golden light. Feeling lighter, Max understands that the journey does not end here. It's merely a stepping stone toward deeper understanding. The chorus of encouragement has shifted into a harmonious melody, urging him forward. He knows there are still more parts of himself yet to explore, layers to peel back and truths to uncover. But today he feels equipped to face whatever shadows might linger. With a final glance at the lake, he steps onto the path, ready to embrace the next chapter of his exploration. As he walks toward the rising sun, he feels a profound sense of hope and resilience blossoming within him. The transition from darkness to light, a metaphor for his inner evolution. The questions that once plagued him have now transformed into beacons guiding him toward understanding. And as he moves ahead, a voice calls from the distance, beckoning him. "Max, there are still more fears to face, more truths to reveal. Are you ready to see where this path leads?" As Max moves deeper into the light, the shadows of his past flicker around him like fading memories. Each step forward is accompanied by echoes of his sleepless nights, the philosophical dilemmas that have haunted him, and the fears he has wrestled with in the solitude of his thoughts. He reaches a vast, open space devoid of walls, where the ground is a swirling mix of colors, each hue representing a different emotion he has yet to fully understand. In this surreal landscape, he gazes at a giant clock suspended in the air, its hands spinning erratically. Time, he realizes, is an illusion, a construct he has always clung to in his quest for meaning. The clock's surface shimmers with possibilities. He reaches out and touches it, and in an instant, memories flood back. Images of his childhood, moments of joy, juxtaposed with times of despair. Each memory is intertwined with a philosophical reflection, and Max sees how his fears of inadequacy have shaped his beliefs about time and success. As he watches the memories unfold, he confronts his past selves, his childhood innocence, his teenage rebellion, and his young adult confusion. They stand before him like specters, each representing a stage of his life where he grappled with identity and purpose. "Why do you linger in darkness?" his childhood self asks. "Why not embrace the chaos?" Max feels a pang of nostalgia, followed by a wave of sadness. "I was afraid. I thought if I faced the chaos, it would consume me. But now, I see it differently." His teenage self steps forward, a flicker of rebellion in their days. "You're scared of the unknown, but the unknown is where growth happens. You're not meant to live in fear, Max. You're meant to explore." With each interaction, Max begins to understand the lessons that lie within his unresolved feelings. His past selves, once sources of shame, now serve as mentors guiding him toward acceptance. He realizes the importance of reconciling these fragments of himself, acknowledging that they are integral to his growth.
As he moves further along, he encounters a massive book floating in the air, its pages turning on their own. The title reads, "The Philosophy of Fear." Drawn to it, he reaches out and opens a page, the words shimmering as if alive. "Fear is but a compass. It directs you towards the truth you seek." Max's heart races. This is the revelation he needs. He has spent so long trying to escape his fears, but perhaps they are not to be feared at all. Instead of seeing them as barriers, he can view them as pathways. Engulfed by this understanding, Max closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. He feels a shift within him, a release of tension he didn't realize he was holding. Suddenly, the landscape begins to morph. The swirling colors shift into clear, vivid shapes, symbols of hope, acceptance, and clarity. In this new environment, he sees people, figures who embody different philosophies of life. There is a stoic figure standing tall, a joyful one dancing freely, and a contemplative individual sitting beneath a tree lost in thought. Each of them represents a path he could take, each philosophy offering a unique perspective on confronting fear and uncertainty. The stoic figure approaches him first, speaking in a calm, steady voice. "Embrace the present, Max. The past is a lesson, the future a mystery, but the now is where you hold power. Each fear you confront in this moment shapes who you become." Max nods, feeling the weight of those words settle within him. He thanks the stoic figure and turns to the joyful one, whose smile radiates warmth. "To live fully is to accept that life is unpredictable. Dance with the chaos, celebrate the unknown. Fear is just an invitation to find joy in the unexpected." The joy resonates deeply, and Max finds himself smiling for the first time in what feels like ages. He then approaches the contemplative figure, who gestures for him to sit beneath the tree. "In stillness, you will find clarity. Your fears do not define you. They are but shadows on the path of self-discovery." Max nods, sitting cross-legged on the ground, allowing the wisdom of these figures to wash over him. The cacophony in his mind begins to quiet, and the realization dawns. His insomnia is not merely a lack of sleep,
It is a symptom of his struggles with acceptance, a call to explore the depths of his consciousness. With this revelation, he feels an urge to express gratitude, not only to these figures, but also to himself for embarking on this journey of introspection. The figures smile knowingly, as if they can sense the transformation taking place within him. But just as he begins to feel a peaceful resolution, the ground trembles beneath him, and the colors of the landscape start to fade. Dark clouds swirl above, and a distant rumble of thunder echoes through the air, signaling the return of the chaos he thought he had embraced. The figures begin to dissolve, their wisdom lingering in the air like perfume, yet he knows that this is not the end. "You've taken the first step, Max," the joyful figure calls out, their voice fading into the chaos. "But every journey has its storms. Embrace them, for they will guide you to deeper truths." As the clouds engulf him, he finds himself standing alone, the swirling colors now reduced to a monochrome fog. But within this fog, he feels the weight of his past, the guidance of his fears, and the promise of his potential. With every fiber of his being, he prepares to confront the next wave of challenges, knowing that each step is a part of his path to understanding and acceptance. This realization fuels a flicker of hope, urging him to press forward into the unknown. With that in mind, Max takes a deep breath and embraces the darkness ahead, ready to face whatever comes next. Max stands at the precipice of his thoughts, the fog swirling like an ethereal dance around him. The unsettling ambiance mirrors his internal landscape, where shadows congeal into shapes that whisper his deepest fears. With each breath, he feels the weight of unanswered questions pressing down on him, yet a flicker of determination ignites within. The storm is not an enemy. It is a harbinger of clarity, an invitation to confront the unresolved fragments of his psyche. As he wades deeper into the dense mist, memories wash over him, the lingering sleepless nights spent wrestling with philosophical quandaries. The ceaseless ticking of the clock echoes in his mind, each second a reminder of his struggle against the encroaching darkness. What is the nature of existence? Why does he feel the relentless grip of anxiety? These questions spiral, like the fog, elusive yet tantalizingly close. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the mists, gaunt and spectral. It embodies the essence of his insomnia, a specter of doubt and fear. Max knows this figure well. It is the manifestation of his relentless mind, the nagging voice that questions every thought, every decision. "Why do you seek the truth?" the figure asks, its voice a chilling echo of his own insecurities. "What if the answers you find are more haunting than the questions?" Max hesitates. The figure's words cut deep, igniting a fresh wave of trepidation. What if the truths lurking within himself are ugly or unchangeable? Yet he realizes to shy away is to remain imprisoned by ignorance. "I seek the truth," he replies, his voice steadier than he feels, "because I cannot continue living in this fog." "The fog is not merely an obstacle, it is part of you," it states, gesturing to the mist swirling around them. Max's heart races. Could it be that the very fears he seeks to conquer are the keys to his acceptance? As the figure begins to dissolve into the fog, it leaves behind a poignant question hanging in the air. What if your nightmares are merely reflections of what you refuse to accept? With these words echoing in his mind, Max pushes forward, determined to navigate the labyrinth of his emotional landscape. He knows that to embrace his fears is to step closer to understanding and perhaps to peace. Minutes or hours pass. Time has no meaning here. The fog begins to thin, revealing a landscape that shifts like a dream, surreal and hauntingly beautiful. Here, trees twist into grotesque shapes, their branches resembling outstretched arms beckoning him to explore further. Each step is a confrontation with a lingering doubt. A specter of his past choices materializes, its features blurred yet familiar. "Remember when you failed? When you chose safety over truth?" it taunts. "I remember," Max whispers, feeling the sting of regret. "But I also remember the strength it took to face my fears." The specter's laughter resonates with melancholy. Strength? Or is it simply the illusion of bravery? Max grapples with this notion, feeling a blend of anger and acceptance. Bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's facing it, isn't it? The specter's form begins to waver, as if unsure of itself in the face of my assertion. Perhaps, but what if your bravery leads to truths you cannot bear? In that moment, Max feels a shift within himself. The fog, the figures, they're all part of a bigger puzzle. He realizes that perhaps the truth he seeks is not a singular answer, but a journey, a continuous unraveling of layers that make him whole. As the specter fades into the mist, he feels lighter, as if some weight has been lifted from his shoulders. The fog begins to dissipate, revealing a landscape bathed in ethereal light, inviting him to take the next step. Max knows the storm is still brewing within him, but he also understands that each encounter with his fears brings him closer to acceptance. He walks along the path, each footfall resonating with newfound purpose. The landscape shifts again, and he finds himself standing at the edge of a precipice, looking down into a chasm filled with swirling shadows. It is here that he feels the full weight of his fears, the chaotic dance of unresolved thoughts clawing at the edges of his mind. What lies beneath? He wonders aloud, hesitating at the brink. It is in this moment of contemplation that another figure appears, this one more solid, almost comforting. It bears a resemblance to someone he knows, a representation of acceptance, perhaps. "Do not fear what lies below," it says gently, its voice soothing as a balm to his fraying nerves, "for it is only through confronting the shadows that you will find the light." Max takes a deep breath, feeling the pulse of courage thrumming in his veins. This figure embodies the part of him that understands the necessity of facing his darkest fears. With a steadying breath, he steps closer to the edge, peering into the abyss. The shadows writhe and twist, yet within them he can discern flickers of light, fragments of hope, pieces of understanding waiting to be uncovered. "I am ready," he declares, his voice firm, "ready to face what lies beneath." As he begins to descend, the shadows swirl around him, and he feels a sense of dread mixed with exhilaration. Each step brings forth memories, reflections of choices, and the weight of past failures. Yet Max understands that these are not just his fears, they are part of a complex tapestry that defines his existence. The descent feels eternal, but within the shadows, the truth begins to illuminate. He can feel the fog lifting, the weight of his philosophical nightmares beginning to dissipate. With every revelation, a new layer of acceptance unfolds, and the chasm transforms from a void into a wellspring of understanding. As Max reaches the bottom, he finds himself surrounded by the very shadows that once terrified him. Yet now they feel less menacing, more like old friends, reminders of the journey he has undertaken. "Welcome," they whisper in unison, a chorus of acceptance. "You have arrived." Max nods, realizing that the storm may still rage above, but here, inside the chasm of his fears, he has found a sanctuary, a place to contemplate, to learn, and ultimately to grow.
With a newfound sense of purpose, he prepares to explore this new realm, to unearth the truths hidden within the shadows, and to embrace the complexity of his existence. And as he moves forward, he knows that the next step will lead him deeper into the mystery of his own heart. As he takes the first step into the unknown depths, he can't shake the feeling that he is not alone in this journey, that the echoes of those who have faced their own shadows are with him, whispering guidance as he descends into the very essence of his philosophical nightmares. The night closes in around Max, an oppressive blanket of darkness that feels both suffocating and oddly comforting. He lies in bed staring at the ceiling, his mind buzzing with thoughts that refuse to quiet. The ticking of the clock seems to mock him, each second stretching into eternity. He begins to ponder the essence of time, why it moves so slowly at night when he yearns for slumber, yet speeds by during the day when he's busy with obligations. As he dwells on these thoughts, memories surface unbidden, each one tainted by the shadows of his fears. He recalls moments from his childhood, fragments of laughter mixed with the sharp sting of rejection and solitude. These recollections swirl in his mind like autumn leaves caught in a storm, and with each swirl, the phantoms of his past rise to confront him. Max closes his eyes, surrendering to the pull of the nightmares. He feels himself slipping into a familiar landscape, a vast empty space that both entices and terrifies him. Here he faces a version of himself, a darker reflection that embodies all of his doubts and fears. This doppelganger sneers at him, whispering, "You think you can change? You're just as lost as ever." The confrontation feels raw, yet exhilarating. As Maximilian grapples with this version of himself, he recalls the lesson he learned in earlier dreams about acceptance. The idea that acknowledging his fears could lead to understanding rather than avoidance. Taking a deep breath, he leans into the confrontation instead of recoiling. "I know you," he asserts, his voice trembling but firm. "You're my doubts, my fears, and my regrets. You've shaped me, but you don't define me. I can learn from you rather than live in your shadow." The dark reflection hesitates, its sneer fading slightly, replaced by a flicker of something almost human, curiosity perhaps. Max dares to step forward, feeling the weight of anxiety lift ever so slightly from his shoulders. As he engages in this internal dialogue, the dreamscape shifts, becoming more vibrant, the colors sharper and more vivid. The oppressive darkness recedes, revealing a landscape of lush greens and vibrant blues. This transformation signifies a change within him, a realization that confronting his fears allows him to reshape his reality. But the moment is fleeting. Just as Max begins to feel a sense of liberation, the ground beneath him trembles. The landscape cracks, and he finds himself standing on the edge of a precipice, staring down into an abyss of uncertainty. The feeling of vertigo gripped him, and for a moment he feels like he might fall. What lies beneath? He wonders, staring into the endless dark that teems with the whispers of his unexamined thoughts. The abyss seems to echo his fears, taunting him to let go of what he knows, to plunge into the unknown. Will he succumb to the depths of despair, or will he find the courage to leap into the darkness in search of answers? The choice feels monumental, and just as he gathers the courage to step forward, he abruptly wakes, heart racing, body drenched in sweat. The familiar shadows of his room loom large, but they bring with them the remnants of a newfound insight. The nightmares may terrify him, but they provide clarity. Each unsettling encounter, every shadowy whisper is a guide through the labyrinth of his mind. Max sits up, the cool air brushing against his skin, grounding him in the present.
He thinks about the idea of confronting his fears and how vulnerability might not lead to destruction, but rather to a deeper understanding of himself. He realizes that the journey he is on isn't about escaping his nightmares, it's about embracing them as part of his story, parts of him that need acknowledgement. Now wide awake, Max ponders the myriad of philosophical questions that swirl in his mind like the smoke of a candle just extinguished. He considers whether the fears born from his insomnia are invitations to explore his soul. What does it mean to accept oneself fully? How does one reconcile with the parts of themselves that foster anxiety? With the dawn creeping through the curtains, Max finally acknowledges that the answers will not come easily, but they will come. He scribbles down his thoughts in a tattered notebook he keeps by his bedside, the pages filled with musings and reflections from countless sleepless nights. As he writes, he feels a sense of liberation, a subtle shift toward acceptance, allowing him to explore the uncomfortable truths he has long avoided. He knows that this is just the beginning. The journey to understand himself is fraught with challenges, but he is ready to embrace it. The sun rises, casting warm rays across his room, illuminating the path ahead. With a newfound sense of purpose, he resolves to face whatever comes next with an open heart and a willingness to learn. He takes a deep breath, his mind racing with possibilities, ready to confront the next layer of his psyche.
As he contemplates the day ahead, he feels the familiar stirrings of anxiety, but recognizes them as a sign of growth. With each challenge, he is learning to navigate the intricacies of his emotions, to steer through the chaos towards something resembling understanding. And as the light floods his room, illuminating the corners that once felt dark and suffocating, he whispers to himself, "I will find my way." With each passing moment, he understands his true journey is just beginning, and the nightmares that once haunted him may very well be the key to unlocking his potential. As he gets ready to embrace the day, Max prepares for the unknown adventures ahead, uncertain yet filled with hope. What lies beneath the surface remains shrouded in mystery, but he knows he has the tools to confront it. Just as he steps out of his room, a flicker of doubt crosses his mind, but he shakes it off. He has come too far to turn back now. He glances at the notebook one last time, knowing that the exploration of his nightmares has only just begun. With a heart full of curiosity and resolve, he knows changes await him, and the next chapter in his story is unfolding. Max takes a final breath and steps outside, ready to embrace whatever the day will bring, fully aware that every experience, every challenge is a part of his philosophical journey. The looming shadows of his past may still whisper to him, but he is determined to listen, not with fear, but with an embrace of acceptance. The next layer of his journey beckons, a call into the deeper realms of his mind, where the answers to his most pressing questions lie. As he turns the corner, he feels a pull toward the unknown, and he knows that the next part of his journey is waiting, just beyond the horizon. The night envelops the city like a heavy blanket, the darkness punctuated by flickering streetlights that cast long, crooked shadows. Max steps outside, letting the cool air kiss his skin. He takes a deep breath, inhaling the scent of damp earth and the distant echo of traffic. Tonight, he is determined to confront the swirling chaos of his thoughts, to unravel the threads of his own psyche that have been plaguing him for so long. As he walks, the familiar streets of his neighborhood transform into a labyrinth of his inner musings. Each step feels heavy with the weight of unasked questions. Why do his nightmares feel more realistic than his waking life? Why does he often feel trapped in his own mind, as if an invisible barrier separates him from true understanding? Max's thoughts drift to the last vivid nightmare he experienced.
being chased through a dark forest by shadowy figures, echoes of laughter ringing in his ears, mocking him. In waking moments, he had found himself paralyzed, unable to grasp what the dream meant. Was it a manifestation of his anxieties about failing to connect with others, or was it a deeper reflection of his fear of losing control? He decides to head to the park, a place that is often served as a refuge for his restless mind. The park is devoid of people, the silence amplifying the cacophony of his thoughts. As he finds a bench, he sits, allowing the stillness to settle around him, and closes his eyes. He remembers the words of a mentor who once told him, "Embrace your fears. They are your teachers." What if his nightmares were not just hallucinations of dread, but rather maps leading him toward understanding? Max opens his eyes and gazes at the vast star-speckled sky. The vastness makes him feel small, yet oddly connected to everything. He recalls the concept of existentialism he had read about, that existence precedes essence. Perhaps in confronting his nightmares, he is not just facing fears, but crafting his essence through experience. With newfound clarity, he considers the nature of his insomnia. It has been a curse, yes, but maybe it also serves as a bridge to deeper realizations. The hours he spends awake in the dark are not simply times of suffering, but opportunities for reflection. How many people drift through life without ever questioning their own thoughts? As he contemplates this, a rustling noise catches his attention. He looks up to see a stray dog approach, its fur matted and eyes wide with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Max feels a flicker of recognition. He sees in the dog a reflection of himself, a being navigating the world, seeking connection while grappling with uncertainty. He reaches out his hand slowly, allowing the dog to sniff him before it tentatively inches closer. In that moment, Max understands that fear and acceptance can coexist. The dog, like his own inner turmoil, is a reminder that vulnerability is part of existence. He chuckles softly as the dog finally rests its head on his knee, and he strokes its head, feeling a warmth spread through him. Maybe this is what he has been missing, the connection that comes from embracing imperfection and uncertainty. The dog's presence prompts him to think about the relationships in his life, those he has pushed away or avoided due to his anxieties. What if he could learn to be as open as this creature? What if he could approach his fears with the same curiosity rather than contempt? That thought feels liberating. He stands, the dog following him as if sensing the shift in his energy. Together, they walk through the park, past empty swings and silent slides, the moon casting a silver glow over everything. Max talks softly to the dog, sharing his thoughts out loud as if voicing them makes them less intimidating. He speaks of his dreams, his nightmares, and the anxiety that wraps around him like a thick fog. As the night deepens, Max feels a sense of camaraderie with this unexpected companion. They wander beneath the trees, and he notices the leaves rustling in the wind, a gentle reminder of nature's cyclical resilience. It dawns on him that just as seasons change, so too can he alter his perspective on fear. Perhaps embracing his anxiety doesn't mean succumbing to it. Instead, it could be a powerful catalyst for transformation. As they approach the park's exit, he pauses, looking down at the dog. "You know, I think we both have a lot to learn from each other. Maybe you'll help me face my fears, and I can help you find a home. What do you say?" The dog's tail wags as if in agreement, and Max feels a swell of determination rising in his chest. He realizes that the journey ahead will not be easy. Confronting one's deepest fears rarely is, but with the dog by his side, he feels a flicker of hope. Maybe he can venture deeper into his consciousness and emerge with the acceptance he has been seeking. He glances back at the park, a place that has turned from a refuge into a wellspring of insight. The shadows of his fears linger, but they no longer feel insurmountable. With this new perspective, he knows he can begin to unravel the layers of his nightmares and see where they lead. As he walks home, the city lights twinkle like distant stars, illuminating the path ahead. The journey toward understanding is just beginning, and he knows that as Max, he will face each step with curiosity and courage, ready to embrace whatever comes next. And with that thought, he knows it's time to take the next leap into the abyss of his mind, to dive deeper into his philosophical nightmares and awaken from them transformed. As he steps forward into this mental abyss, the air thickens with unease. Thoughts swirl, swimming like smoke. Each one a question left unanswered, a fear left unaddressed. Why does he feel so lost in a world that seems to thrive on certainty? Max feels his heart racing, the rhythm almost synchronizing with the pulsing shadows around him.
He recalls a past nightmare where he wandered through a labyrinthine library, books stacked precariously, each tome representing a different anxiety. The shelves creaked beneath the weight of his unacknowledged thoughts. In this dreamscape, he wanders past titles like The Weight of Expectations and Fear of Failure. Each title resonates, pulling him back into memories where he felt the crushing burden of others' hopes resting on his shoulders. He shudders, but there's also a flicker of understanding. This is the first step toward reconciliation, the acknowledgement that these fears are part of him, not separate entities to be fought against. As he traverses deeper into this realm, a voice echoes softly, guiding him through the shadows. Embrace your fears, Max. They are your teachers, not your captors. It feels as if the shadows themselves are alive, whispering secrets he had long buried. He slows his pace, contemplating their wisdom. Perhaps the fear of failure is not just an end, but a path to growth. The darker edges of his mind start to shift, revealing scenarios where he has faced adversity and emerged stronger. The memory of his first public speaking event flashes before him. A shaky voice, trembling hands, and yet the rush of exhilaration that followed as he completed his speech. It was a moment that validated his existence, but he had suppressed its significance. Continuing onwards, he encounters a mirror hanging on one of the library walls. The reflection reveals not just his physical self, but also his inner turmoil. Overwhelmed, he watches as the shadows morph into shades of doubt. They swirl around him, taunting him with past mistakes, lost opportunities, and the incessant question, what if? Instead of recoiling, Max steps closer, pressing his palms against the cool glass of the mirror. What if I embrace you? He whispers. The shadows pause, the oppressive weight lightening slightly. Can it be that easy? He recalls a time when he confronted a childhood fear of the dark. It was not the absence of light that terrified him, but the unknown possibilities lurking within it. He realizes his journey through these philosophical nightmares is akin to that childhood experience, a learning curve that does not yield instant relief, but rather a gradual acceptance of his complexities. He's learning slowly that understanding his anxieties is a necessary step in moving forward. As the library dissolves around him, he finds himself standing on the precipice of a vast canyon, an expanse of darkness stretching before him. The shadows gather at its edge, a swirling mass of questions and fears. In the distance, he catches sight of a flicker of light, beckoning him to follow. What lies beyond this abyss, he contemplates, aware that it represents both his fears and the potential for growth. The light is alluring, representing hope, but it is also a reminder of all he has to confront. As he inches closer to the edge, he feels the pull of the darkness,
the familiar comfort of avoiding those difficult questions. Yet he knows this is not the time to retreat. Taking a deep breath, he steps forward, allowing himself to fall. The sensation is exhilarating, spiraling into a free fall where his mind races. Thoughts of every moment he hesitated to act, every opportunity he let slip away, filled the air around him. But at the same time, it's liberating. He is finally confronting the very essence of his fears. As he falls, he begins to scream, releasing the pent-up anxiety that had kept him anchored for so long. The sound reverberates, echoing in the vast nothingness. With every shout, he feels lighter, as if shedding the weight of expectations he struggled under. He is not alone. The shadows surround him, both intimidating and guiding him through this dark voyage. They are no longer just fears, but complex layers of his identity, revealing the intricacies of who he is. Gradually, the ground rises to meet him, softening his landing. He stands in a dimly lit cavern where the walls pulse with energy, each thrum a reminder of life's uncertainties. Here he feels a connection to the universe, a sense of belonging amidst chaos. The shadows that once tormented him now feel like companions on this journey. As he steadies himself, he notices a path winding through the cavern, illuminated by flecks of light that dance along the way. The path diverges into 3 routes, each marked by signs that challenge different aspects of his psyche: fear of vulnerability, fear of rejection, and fear of the unknown. Max hesitates, contemplating which path to take. Each choice represents a significant aspect of his life that he has avoided. Yet he knows he must choose. The shadows around him seem to lean in, awaiting his decision with eager anticipation. In this moment, he acknowledges that to evolve, he must confront these fears head-on. With renewed determination, he selects the path labeled Fear of the Unknown, knowing that it will lead him into the depths of his insecurities, but also towards the potential for profound growth. He steps forward, the path enveloping him in its embrace, and as he walks, he feels a surge of courage coursing through him. He realizes that the unknown can be just as beautiful as it is frightening. The shadows follow closely, transforming from haunting figures into guides, illuminating his way through each challenge he must face. With each step, he accepts that this journey is not merely about confronting his fears, but also about embracing the uncertainties that come with growth. And as he walks deeper into the unknown, he feels a thrill of anticipation for what lies ahead. A journey of self-discovery that promises to be both unsettling and enlightening. With each step, he whispers to the shadows, "Let's explore together." And the darkness responds, vibrating with an energy that feels like a promise of transformation. His heart swells with hope, aware that he is not merely surviving his nightmares, but beginning to thrive within them. As the path stretches onwards, beckoning him to dive deeper into the recesses of his mind, Max takes a moment to reflect on how far he has come. With a newfound sense of acceptance, he knows the journey is far from over. Curiosity tugs at him, urging him to delve further into the unknown, to find the answers he seeks among the shadows. And as the path opens wide before him, Max prepares for what comes next, ready to embrace the darkness with open arms, for he understands now that it is not his enemy, but a necessary part of his evolution. He sets forth into the depths, ready for whatever awaits him in the hidden corners of his mind, where answers may lie waiting. What unimaginable truths will I uncover next? He wonders, as feeling the shadows pulse with the rhythm of possibility. And with that thought, He steps forward into the uncharted, a promise lingering in the air, hinting at the revelations yet to come. As Max gazes into the abyss of his mind, he can sense an unfamiliar sense of clarity nestled within the chaos. The previously haunting shadows now flicker with nuance, revealing their intricate dance of light and darkness. He takes a deep breath, steadying himself against the tide of anxiety that ebbs and flows like a restless sea. In this liminal space where reality intertwines with the fantastical, Max finds himself transported to a vivid landscape that is both surreal and strikingly familiar. The ground beneath his feet shimmers like a mirage, and the sky above swirls with hues of deep indigo and violet. Each step he takes resonates with a quiet echo, as though the very ground is alive, responding to his presence.
Is this a manifestation of his nightmares, or an invitation to delve deeper into the fabric of his psyche? As he traverses the landscape, questions bubble to the surface, demanding his attention. Before he can ponder them too deeply, an ethereal figure emerges from the mist, a woman draped in flowing garments that shimmer like starlight. Her presence is both comforting and unsettling, evoking a sense of familiarity that sends a shiver down Max's spine. She smiles gently, her eyes holding an ancient wisdom that seems to bypass words entirely. "Max," she speaks, her voice resonating like a soft chime. "You've come seeking answers, haven't you?" Max nods, his throat dry and constricted. "I'm tired of running away from my fears. I want to understand them." The woman's smile widens, and she gestures for him to follow. As they walk, she leads him through a series of shifting scenes, each a fragment of his past, layered with memories both cherished and painful. In one scene, Max encounters a younger version of himself, sitting alone on a swing, staring into the distance. "Why do you feel so alone?" he whispers to the boy, who seems oblivious to his presence. "It's because I don't understand," the boy replies, his voice ringing with innocence and confusion. "What don't you understand?" Max presses, feeling an ache of nostalgia for a simpler time, yet aware of the weight of unspoken fears. "I don't know why I'm afraid of the dark," the boy admits, his small hands gripping the chains of the swing. "It feels like a monster lives there." Max's heart tightens in empathy, recognizing this fear as the seed of many sleepless nights, but also a realization dawns. This fear is not just a monster, but a part of himself waiting for acknowledgement. "The darkness isn't a monster," he murmurs, more to himself than to the child. "It's just a place of possibilities." The woman nods in agreement, her presence a reminder of the importance of acceptance. Sometimes we must embrace what frightens us to find the light hidden within. They continue moving through the landscape, each scene illuminating aspects of his past that he has tucked away. A confrontation with once fierce bully emerges, a moment when Max stood frozen, unable to defend himself. "Why didn't you fight back?" he asks the younger version. "I was afraid of being hurt," he replies, his eyes wide open with the vulnerability of youth. "But in avoiding pain, you blocked a part of who you are," the woman interjects, her voice soothing yet firm. "Growth requires facing discomfort. It's a necessary part of evolution." Max watches as the scene shifts again, this time to a moment shared with his father, an afternoon spent fishing by the lake, laughter echoing under the sun. The warmth of the memory washes over him, tinged with sorrow for the conversations that were never had. "You had so many questions about life," the woman remarks, nudging him gently. "Why didn't you ask?" "Because I was afraid of the answers," Max admits, a sense of heaviness settling in his chest. "What if they didn't match my expectations?" "Expectations are merely illusions," she replies, her tone contemplative.
What matters is the journey toward understanding, not the destination. Max feels the weight of her words resonating within the core of his being. He realizes that his insomnia, his nightmares, all of it has been a quest for clarity amidst the confusion. Where do we go from here? He questions, feeling both empowered and vulnerable. Forward, she responds, her smile unwavering. Embrace your fears, Max. They do not define you, they illuminate the path to your true self. With that, she motions for him to continue deeper into the landscape, where shadows begin to pulse with potential. As he walks, Max feels the tendrils of anxiety begin to unwind, the knots in his chest loosening. Each step forward is a step toward integration, a reconciliation of his past with his present. He begins to sense that the nightmares which once felt invasive are now guides, revealing the hidden corners of his psyche. The landscape shifts again, this time revealing a vast ocean, its waves crashing against cliffs that rise majestically into the sky. Max stands at the water's edge, feeling the cool breeze whip against his skin. The ocean represents the depth of his emotions, vast and unpredictable, yet profoundly beautiful. Will I ever conquer my fears? He asks, staring out at the horizon where the sea meets the sky. Conquering implies a war, she replies softly. Instead, think of it as a dance, a partnership where you learn to move harmoniously with the rhythms of your emotions. Max watches the waves pull back, revealing shells and treasures hidden beneath the surface. In that moment, he understands. His fears are not enemies, but pieces of him waiting to be acknowledged and embraced. The realization fills him with hope, a warmth blooming in his chest. As he prepares to dive deeper into the ocean of his emotions, the woman gestures toward the horizon. The journey continues, Max. Every wave offers new insights, new discoveries. You need only be willing to explore. Her figure begins to fade into the mist, her voice lingering in the air. Remember, understanding is the key to peace. With a renewed sense of purpose, Max takes a deep breath and steps forward into the water, feeling the coolness envelop him like a lover's embrace. Each wave crashing against him feels like a pulse of life, a reminder of his own resilience. As he swims deeper, he knows that embracing his fears will not be easy, but it is a necessary part of his growth. He's ready to uncover the truths that lie beneath the surface, and he knows that this is just the beginning of a profound journey. With the shadows of his past now guiding him, Max prepares to face the next set of challenges, the shadows that remain unexamined, waiting in the depths of his psyche, ready to reveal their truths. And as the waves of the ocean swirl around him, he feels a sense of anticipation flare within, whispering promises of potential yet to be revealed.
He recalls times he was brave despite feeling inadequate, the moments where he stood tall even when the ground beneath him felt shaky. Facing his own narrative, he understands that rejection is part of the human experience, not a sentence. With newfound courage, he places the book back on the shelf, feeling lighter. He continues his exploration, driven by a sense of purpose that he hasn't felt before in these nightmares. Drawn to another glowing light, he approaches a book entitled Failure. Opening it reveals the tapestry of his missteps, every failure echoing loudly in his mind. Yet as he reads, he begins to see how each setback was a stepping stone, shaping him into the person he is today. He closes his eyes for a moment, allowing the realization to wash over him. Failure is not the end, but rather a teacher that nudges him toward growth. This epiphany fills him with gratitude, and he places the book back on its shelf, feeling an urge to move forward. Max's journey through the library continues, and he encounters more titles: Loneliness, Fear of Failure, The Burden of Expectations. Each book illuminates different facets of his psyche, urging him to confront and reconcile with the emotions he has long avoided. The more he reads,
the more he understands that these fears are not enemies, but parts of himself waiting to be accepted. While tackling these fears head-on, he begins to connect the dots between his experiences, realizing that they have shaped his perception of the world. The library transforms into a map of his journey, each book a chapter in the story of his life. The air becomes thick with a sense of clarity. He feels a burgeoning acceptance within himself. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. The lights flicker violently, and the walls of the library begin to close in. A sense of urgency grips him as he realizes that the library is not merely a sanctuary, it is a reflection of his mind, a place to explore, but not to linger indefinitely. With each breath, he feels the weight of opportunity pressing against him, pushing him toward action. Determined, Max sprints toward the shelves, each step echoing his resolve. He gathers the books he read, clutching them tightly to his chest. These are his truths, his lessons learned, and he is ready to take them back into his waking life. As he reaches the entrance of the library, a figure stands in the doorway, a silhouette cloaked in shadows. The figure turns, revealing a face that is both familiar and foreign, a mirror of Max himself. "You can't escape yourself, Max," the figure says, a mix of compassion and challenge in their voice. "Embrace all of you, not just the parts you find easy to love." Max pauses, feeling a swell of emotion. He nods, acknowledging the truth in the figure's words. "I am ready to face it all, my fears, my dreams, my failures. I want to learn from everything, not just the easy lessons." The figure smiles, their form glowing as they dissolve into a cascade of lights, showering Max with warmth. In that moment, the library fades, and he awakens in his room, the dawn breaking softly through his window. Max sits up, heart racing, yet filled with a profound sense of clarity. The fears that once ensnared him are now a part of his journey. He understands that the nightmares, once daunting, are now allies, guiding him toward acceptance and growth, each bearing a lesson that will shape his path forward. As he prepares to face the day, he carries with him the knowledge that embracing every facet of himself is essential. The clarity he gained within the library lingers, and he feels ready to step into the world armed with the wisdom of his own experiences. With a deep breath, he whispers to himself, "I am ready to embrace every part of who I am." And with that declaration, he takes the first step into the unknown, ready for what awaits him. As he moves toward the door, he hears a soft whisper echoing in the corners of his mind. "Continue to seek, for this journey has only just begun." The story continues as Max learns to navigate the complexities of acceptance, armed with the knowledge and fears he has encountered. Max stands at the threshold of another winding corridor within his mind's labyrinth, the air thick with the weight of unresolved questions. The walls pulse with a dim, flickering light that casts unsettling shadows, warping the very fabric of his thoughts. He takes a deep breath, feeling the chill of uncertainty seep into his bones. Yet there is a flicker of determination within him, a burgeoning desire to confront whatever lurks in the dark. As he steps forward, he recalls a fleeting image from a previous nightmare, a mirror that reflected not his physical form, but the essence of his unacknowledged fears. It had shattered, leaving jagged pieces scattered across the floor, each shard a reminder of the parts of himself he has long refused to confront. The memory steadies him, a reminder that every encounter with his fears, no matter how unsettling, holds the potential for growth. Max wanders deeper, his footsteps echoing in the hollow silence. The corridor stretches endlessly, twisting and turning as if mocking his desire for clarity. Each turn reveals a new set of doors, some ornately carved, while others are plain and uninviting. He hesitates before one door, its surface adorned with intricate designs depicting a battle between light and darkness. Something about it beckons him, whispering promises of revelation. Pushing the door open, Max finds himself in a vast expanse of shifting landscapes. To his left, rolling hills draped in shadow. To his right, a radiant field bathed in sunlight. It is here that he senses the presence of his anxieties, looming like specters in the corners of his vision. They are familiar, yet foreign, twisting into shapes that embody his thoughts of inadequacy and self-doubt. "What do you want from me?" he calls out, a tremor in his voice. The landscape hesitates, the shadows elongating as if to respond. A figure emerges from the darkness, draped in a cloak woven from the very fabric of his fears. It speaks in a voice that reverberates like thunder, echoing the inner turmoil that has chased him for years. "I am the manifestation of your despair, the keeper of your unresolved thoughts. To move forward, you must face me." Max squares his shoulders, feeling the weight of panic rise within him. This confrontation feels different. It is not merely a battle to be won, but an invitation to understand. As the figure draws closer, he recognizes the contours of his own face reflected in the darkness. "You are me," Max whispers, awakening to a startling realization. "You are the parts of myself I refuse to acknowledge." The figure pauses, its gaze piercing through the veil of dread, and for a moment Max sees not just a reflection of his fears, but also the potential for acceptance. The shadows swirl, forming a path toward the light, and he realizes that to transcend this nightmare, he must embrace every fragment of himself, the light and the dark. With newfound resolve, Max reaches out, touching the cloak that represents his fears. "I am not afraid of you anymore. You are a part of me, and I choose to understand you." As the words leave his lips, the landscape shifts again. The darkness recedes, replaced by a soft, warm glow that envelops him, easing the tension that has gripped his heart. He feels a sense of peace wash over him, a reminder that the journey through his mind will be fraught with challenges, but also ripe with opportunities for healing. Yet as the light settles around him, a new door appears in the distance. This one is unlike any he has seen before. It radiates warmth and curiosity, adorned with symbols of knowledge and understanding.
Max knows he must walk through it, for it promises further revelations in the labyrinth that is his consciousness. With a final glance at the fading figure of his fears, he steps toward the new door, heart pounding with anticipation. What lies beyond is unknown, but he is ready to discover what truths await him next, ready to continue his exploration of the emotional landscape that defines his existence. The door stands before him, dark and imposing, its surface covered in intricate carvings that seem to shift when he gazes at them. Max takes a deep breath, his heartbeat echoing in his ears. What lies behind this door? He knows it is a reflection of his psyche, a new layer of his consciousness waiting to be explored. As he pushes the door open, a wave of cold air washes over him, filled with whispers that tug at the edges of his sanity. Inside, the atmosphere shifts. The walls are no longer solid, but seem to breathe, pulsating in rhythm with his own anxious heartbeat. Shadows dart across the room, teasing him with glimpses of his past fears. The nightmares he's wrestled with before re-emerge, taking the form of distant memories and unresolved conflicts. Max steps cautiously, each footfall swallowed by the thick fog that lingers near the ground. He feels a familiar sense of dread rise within him. It's a feeling he knows well, a companion that has haunted him through sleepless nights. Yet tonight, there is a flicker of determination igniting within him, a new understanding that perhaps these shadows are not his enemies, but rather parts of himself that he needs to confront. "Why do you hide?" one of the shadows hisses, its voice dripping with mockery. "Are you afraid of what you might find beneath your own skin?"
The challenge resonates with Max, stirring a tempest in his chest. He understands now that the only way to dispel the shadows is to confront them head-on. "Who are you?" Max asks, his voice trembling slightly as he steps closer to the nearest figure. "What do you want from me?" The figure dissolves into a swirl of smoke, reshaping itself into the image of a younger Max, one who is still grappling with insecurities, fearful in the face of life's unpredictability. "I am you," the younger Max replies, his tone tinged with sadness. "I'm the part of you that has never felt enough. You've tried to bury me, but I won't be silenced." Max feels the weight of those words, and it strikes him like lightning. He has spent so long trying to erase the parts of himself that seemed weak or unworthy. In his quest for acceptance, he has neglected to embrace the entirety of his emotional landscape that defines his existence. Max's heart races as he takes a step back, the weight of realization pressing heavily upon him. He never truly accepted these fears. They've always felt like burdens rather than lessons. Each shadow in this room represents not just a fear, but a piece of wisdom, a stepping stone toward growth. "Why should I accept you?" he challenges, his voice steadier now. "You only bring chaos and pain." The figures shift, their silhouettes intertwining, forming a collective presence that looms around him. "We are part of you," they whisper in unison, "and accepting us is the only way to find peace." Max closes his eyes, allowing the words to wash over him. The fear of chaos, the anxiety of failure, the dread of being unworthy, they are all facets of his existence, not just obstacles to overcome. As he opens his eyes, he feels a change within him, a deepening of his resolve. "I am tired of running," he declares, his voice stronger now. "I want to understand." The shadows pause, their forms flickering as if anticipating his acceptance. "Teach me." With this declaration, the room begins to shift. The oppressive darkness recedes, revealing a landscape bathed in muted colors. Each shadow now transitions into a more tangible form, a memory, a lesson learned, an experience lived. Max sees himself standing on the precipice of his youth, watching his opportunities slip away and regrets take root. He watches as he chose the path of safety over risk, the comfort of the familiar over the thrill of the unknown. "Every choice led you here," a voice echoes, resonating from the depths of his memory. "What will you do with this knowledge?" Max feels his understanding deepen. Each regret, every moment of fear has contributed to the person he is today. There's no need to erase those memories. He can learn from them instead. As he engages with the scenes unfolding around him, the figures morph into more tangible forms of memories he once considered friends and mentors, those who nurtured his growth and those who challenged him. He sees himself in conversations filled with doubt and encouragement, love and rejection. Each interaction weaves a thread into the tapestry of who he is. Max begins to feel a warmth spread through his chest, a burgeoning acceptance of his multifaceted self. He realizes that evolution is not about casting aside the parts of himself he dislikes, but about integrating every experience into a cohesive whole. "Embrace your labyrinth," a figure whispers, their voice soft and inviting. "It is through understanding your fears that you will find true freedom." The metaphor rings true. The labyrinth of his mind is complex yet navigable. Each path he has taken, every twist and turn has been an opportunity for growth, even when the night seemed darkest. As he moves through the vibrant scenes, Max sees reflections of what could be, a life lived authentically, where he embraces both the light and the shadows within himself. He envisions confronting his fears not as an adversary, but rather as a guiding force towards acceptance. A smile begins to form on his lips as he contemplates the possibilities before him. Yet as the path continues to unfold, he senses a new darkness looming at the edge of this newfound clarity. It is a shadow that feels more substantial, more pressing, Max turns to face it, knowing instinctively that this is yet another layer of himself waiting to be integrated. "I see you," he whispers, steeling himself for what comes next. The door behind him fades from view, but the path ahead beckons with the promise of revelation. What will this new shadow reveal? What other fears lie waiting in the depths of his consciousness? As he ventures deeper into this realm, he knows that he is journeying a profound transformation, one that will challenge him to embrace all aspects of himself, however unsettling they may be. He takes a deep breath, ready to confront whatever darkness awaits him. In this moment of acceptance, the labyrinth stretches infinitely ahead, a realm of both danger and discovery. He feels the pulse of potential radiate through his being, a flicker of hope ignite in the depth of his soul. As he ventures deeper into this realm, he knows that he's journeying a profound transformation, one that will challenge him to embrace all aspects of himself, however unsettling they may be. With renewed determination, he sets forth into the unknown, ready to uncover the lessons wrapped in the shadows that still linger. The air grows thick with anticipation as Max navigates the narrow passages of the labyrinth, each turn echoing the thumping of his heart. Shadows flicker against the damp stone walls, twisting into shapes reminiscent of his deepest fears. They dance around him, taunting and teasing, reminding him of sleepless nights spent pondering existence and meaning.
Each step brings him closer to an unseen center, a place where he believes the ultimate revelation awaits him. Max's mind races with questions that haunt him like persistent specters. What is the nature of truth? Can fear shape reality, or is it merely a construct of his imagination? The labyrinth feels alive, pulsating with a rhythm that syncs with his thoughts. He wonders if the ancient force he senses is a reflection of his own internal struggles, a manifestation of the very anxieties he has tried to outrun. Suddenly, he arrives at a large chamber, illuminated by an ethereal glow that emanates from a crystalline structure at its center. Its light bathes the room in soft hues, casting a serene yet unsettling ambiance. Max approaches cautiously, his fingers brushing against the cool surface of the crystal. He feels a jolt of energy course through him, as if the object is resonating with his very essence. As he peers into the crystal, he sees shifting images, fragments of his past intermingled with the shadows of his future. Each vignette encapsulates moments of despair, joy, and the relentless questioning that plagues him. He sees himself as a child, lost in thought, grappling with the weight of existence. He witnesses the awkwardness of adolescence, the fleeting joys of young adulthood, and the dark undercurrents of his current life. It becomes clear to him that these images are not merely memories, they are the roots of his fears and doubts, interwoven with the fabric of his identity. With every heartbeat, he realizes that to confront these shadows is to embrace the entirety of himself, not just the light, but also the darkness he has tried so hard to banish. Max closes his eyes and takes a deep breath, letting the energy from the crystal wash over him. He feels the ancient force urging him to release his resistance, to accept the fears that have long dictated his choices. As the images whirl around him, a voice, soft yet powerful, whispers from within, urging him to see the beauty in his imperfections, the strength in his vulnerabilities. Emboldened, he steps back and surveys the chamber. The ancient force seems to pulse with satisfaction, aware of his willingness to engage with his fears. Max understands that this journey is not merely about uncovering hidden truths, but about reconciling every part of himself.
The labyrinth transforms around him, the walls shifting and reshaping to reveal new pathways. He feels a sense of liberation, as if a weight has been lifted. He takes one last look at the crystal, a symbol of the journey he must continue before stepping forward into the unknown. With each stride, he can feel the maze adapting to his new mindset, guiding him toward answers he has been desperately seeking. The shadows no longer taunt him. Instead, they stand sentinel, guardians of his fears, ready to impart wisdom if he is willing to listen. The echoes of laughter and cries, once dissonant, now resonate in harmony, creating a surreal melody that leads him deeper into the labyrinth's embrace. As he ventures further, the walls begin to pulse in rhythm with his thoughts, guiding him toward a realization that transcends his previous understanding of fear. He understands now that his nightmares are not the enemy, they are teachers, holding lessons wrapped in darkness. In this realization, Max finds a flicker of hope. He senses that he is on the precipice of a profound transformation, ready to reconcile the parts of himself he has long denied. The labyrinth, with all its complexities, becomes a metaphor for his emotional landscape, vast, intricate, and filled with potential for growth. Just as he reaches a point of clarity, a tremor shakes the ground beneath him, and the distant sound of crashing waves fills his ears. He realizes that he is approaching the heart of the labyrinth, a place where the ancient force resides, waiting to reveal its ultimate truth, a truth that may change everything he thought he knew about himself. Max's heart races with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. He steps forward, guided by the rhythm of his heart and the whispers of the shadows, ready to confront whatever lies ahead. The air crackles with energy as he approaches the final threshold, aware that his journey is nearing a pivotal moment. And just as the first glimmers of dawn begin to break, heralding a new understanding, he senses the presence of something monumental ahead, waiting to unfold. With a final breath, he steels himself for what is to come, ready to embrace the unknown and the truths that await him in the heart of the labyrinth, where the ancient force promises to unveil the mysteries of his existence. The labyrinth looms before Max, its towering walls twisting and turning, casting eerie shadows under the dim light of a flickering bulb that hangs precariously above. This is not merely a maze, but a manifestation of his mind, filled with corridors that echo memories long suppressed and whispers of thoughts he has barely begun to confront. Each step he takes reverberates in the silence, a reminder of his existence and his choices. Max takes a deep breath, his heart pounding in rhythm with the echoes of his footsteps. He recalls the night spent tossing and turning in bed, paralyzed by the weight of sleeplessness, as philosophical questions swirl in his mind like a tempest. What is the nature of fear? Can one truly escape their nightmares, or must they learn to navigate through them? The labyrinth embodies these very questions, a physical representation of his internal struggle. As he ventures deeper, he feels a strange pull, as if the walls themselves urge him forward. Each turn presents new challenges and reflections. He recalls the faces of those he has lost and those he has pushed away, their forms flickering in and out of focus as if they are part of the shadows. With each haunting visage, the reality of his regrets presses upon him, forcing him to confront not only what he fears, but also what he longs for. The air grows thick, almost suffocating, as he reaches a junction. To his left, the path is dark and narrow, cloaked in silence. To his right, a faint light beckons, accompanied by distant laughter that feels both inviting and mocking. Max hesitates, torn between safety and the allure of understanding. He can almost hear the voice of his own conscience urging him to face what lies ahead rather than retreating into the comfort of ignorance. Max chooses the light, drawn by an instinctive need to confront his shadows. As he walks, he finds himself in a chamber lined with mirrors, each reflecting a different version of himself. Some are distorted, showcasing his anxiety and despair, while others reveal moments of clarity and acceptance. Here he confronts the reality that the labyrinth isn't a prison, but a guide, showing him the multifaceted nature of his psyche. "Who are you?" he whispers to the reflections. No one answers, but a sense of understanding washes over him. He realizes these reflections are simply variations of his own self, each carrying pieces of his past and potential futures. The laughter he heard earlier resonates again, this time clearer, as if it echoes from the depths of his own soul. "Embrace me," it calls, and Max understands it is not a taunt, but an invitation. He reaches out to touch one of the mirrors, and when he does, the surface ripples like water, pulling him in. He feels the sensation of falling, caught between despair and hope, uncertainty and clarity. The world around him spins and he is engulfed in darkness once more. Yet within this darkness there is a flicker of light, an understanding that his fears have less power over him than he once believed. Max awakens not in his bed, but back at the entrance of the labyrinth, his heart racing, but his mind clearer than ever.
He realizes that his nightmares, though unsettling, are not his enemies but rather teachers. They are the very fabric of his growth, pulling him toward acceptance of the self he has long denied. With renewed resolve, he steps back into the maze, ready to face whatever may come. The walls of the labyrinth seem to shift and change, opening up new paths and possibilities. Each choice he makes now feels less like a burden and more like an opportunity for self-discovery. The echoes of laughter ring in his ears again, now sounding like encouragement rather than mockery. Max breathes in the air thick with potential, feeling a sense of freedom he thought he had lost. The shadows may still linger, but he understands that they are a part of him, not something to be feared. As he navigates the twists and turns, he knows that he is not just wandering aimlessly, he's exploring the depths of his own psyche, inching closer to the answers he seeks. He pauses for a moment, reflecting on how far he has come. The night may be long and filled with philosophical nightmares, but they are also gateways to understanding, and he is prepared to walk through them. The labyrinth now feels less like a trap and more like a sanctuary where he can reconcile his fears with the potential for growth. A new path opens before him, one that leads further into the heart of his labyrinthine mind. With a final glance at the mirrors behind him, Max steps forward, ready to uncover the truths that await him in the depths of his being. With every ounce of courage, he whispers to the darkness around him, "Show me what I need to see." The labyrinth responds, its walls shifting once more, guiding him deeper into the unknown, where the next truth awaits. As the night draws to a close, Max finds a fragile peace within the chaos of his thoughts. The philosophical nightmares that once haunted him transform into avenues for self-discovery, guiding him towards acceptance of his complexities. He understands that each fear he confronts is a step on the journey toward emotional clarity, and in this acceptance, he discovers a newfound resilience. With dawn's first light breaking through the darkness, Max drifts into a gentle slumber, embracing the lessons learned from the depths of his own mind. He carries with him the understanding that nightmares, while unsettling, can illuminate the path to self-acceptance and growth, turning the fears of the night into the hopes of a new day.